Madam Msongo, Member Msongo.
Morning, honorable members. Let's just settle in 1 minute. We will be starting. Morning, honorable members. I think the meeting is now opened. Welcome to all the honorable members that have attended our meeting. The staff, the officials, and everybody that is expected here.
Recording in progress.
In our portfolio committee for the public enterprises. Before we kick on the specific issues to be dealt with, can we get the apologies from the secretary?
Good day, Chair. The only apology I received for the meeting was from Ms. Graham Murray and Mr. Kwangkwaya. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that's the only apology we have. Honorable members, we are on the tail end of our administration, which is the 6th Parliament. And now we talk of issues to wrap up mostly our work, which also include the legacy report that will be presented to us by the Secretary of Parliament, a second, I think it's a final draft. People will still also have an opportunity to engage this report that will be presented to us. And if they still have issues to add and omit, they can do so. And then we will also have an update on the implementation of the Zondo Commission, as it is called, issues that are to do with our own area of operation, people affected in the state-owned entities, what the department is doing, where we are in dealing with those issues and so on. I think the content advisor, Mr. Rodney Mnisi, will be presenting to us that particular part of our work. I think today we'll focus on those two issues without wasting time. I would like to again give it to, before I give to them, I'm welcoming all the members, the ministers, but I didn't hear if there are any, there's no minister here. Therefore, you are all welcome, honorable members. Let's go straight to one of the report. I'm not sure, Mr. Muchumi, which one is the first between the two documents, because you have not put the agenda here in front of us so that we can also be seeing which one start.
The legacy report will start first, Chair.
Okay, then take us through.
Thank you, Chair. I will not dwell much on it. Just to say, as a preamble, Chair, the legacy report basically it's a report that it's standard for all portfolio committees at the end of the term of Parliament of 5 years. And that report is meant to basically highlight the work of the committee and some of the legacy issues that the committee would like to give to the incoming Parliament, which is the 7th Parliament. Also to highlight the challenges that the committee had during the term, and also highlight some of the both governance, policy, financial challenges of state-owned enterprises, and also the work of the committee in itself. What were the hindrances? So that is the main challenge. That is the main concept about the legacy report, and what is that we are putting to the next parliament to look at. But the next parliament is not obliged to take everything that the committee says. They can always have their own program, regardless. And then this particular this report, it's a work in progress. Hence, we would still expect members of the committee to engage with it over the coming week, and then submit inputs into the report and whatever recommendations they might have that they think that must be included. But so that by the time we adopt the report, all members have made their inputs. Yeah, the first part, Chair, it's basically an executive summary of the report. We'd look at the key highlights of what is lacking also in the report. I must just say it up front is that the report, we are going to include a SWOT analysis, which is your strength, your environmental or situation analysis that the content advisor is yet to include into the report. So that is not included into the report here. So this is mainly to ensure that we look at what I've adopted, what I've put here. It's basically the work of the committee and it's accounting on how far we have gone. So the first one will be the just a reflection of the committee program in terms of what the committee have been engaging with, and also engaging in terms of how the committee have what is it? How the committee operated in terms of its chairperson and the members that were involved within that particular committee. And then we look at the committee focus areas during the 6th Parliament, which I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to go there and there, just to give the members a synopsis of what are the issues. So basically, we're saying that the committee looked at the governance, financial sustainability, performance related issues since the 1st Parliament, and then we also looked at the issues of oversight visits to state-owned enterprises and Department of Public Enterprises, which were quite limited in this particular phase, this term of Parliament, because the committee didn't travel much. Also, we reported annually on the strategic plan, annual performance plan, and quarterly reports of the committee, of the department. We also looked at the audit outcomes of the Auditor General in assisting us to engage with the budgetary review reports and recommendations and the budget vote, but also undertook visits to all state-owned enterprises, which is your Denel, Transnet, Eskom, Alex, Safcol. There's no entity the committee have not been to ensure it engages with the performance of the state-owned enterprise. We also highlighted the issue of the petitions that we have received from obviously the former Director General of SAA. We also look at, we highlighted the issue of the sale of the 51%, which is still not concluded. Then we also report on the issue of the Zondo Commission report, which is we are meant to oversee its implementation. Then we go to the issue of the key areas for future work for the next committee that will be overseeing state-owned enterprises. We look at the issues of the committee needs to, the next committees will have to rigorously do oversight over state-owned enterprises and continue and provide leadership on the SOC's environment, especially on the issues of governance, financial sustainability, procurement, environment. And also there's a need to address the legislative and policy gaps, particularly the issue of the shareholder management bill, which is the overarching policy for state-owned enterprises that has been lacking. We also look at the issue of the implementation of the audit plans for state-owned enterprises, Also monitor the work of the Minister of Electricity, because it also falls under our portfolio. The unbundling of ESCOM, which is a matter to be looked at, its progress and how it affects the performance of the entity as a whole. Provide also oversight over the overruns in the project delivery at ESCOM, especially I think that's got to do with the issues of the issues that are from legacy projects such as Medupi and Kusile and the overruns thereof. We also look at the issues of the inadequate maintenance in the power stations and rapid breakages. Particularly, we also mentioned the issue of the Kubek power station, because there's a project undergoing which got to do with the replacement of the steam generators and the extension of that particular extension of the life plant of Kubek, because Kubek is a very important power station. And then we also look at the high municipal debt, the issue of Transnet in terms of its freight rail and ports, the challenges that they've received, that they are continuously experiencing. Then the issue of the Daniel's balance sheet and the liquidity concerns. We also flag it for the next parliament. And then also, obviously, the issue that the committee is dealing with, which is the SAA transaction. And then we look at continuous looking at the issue of the Auditor General, which I think that the committee, for a committee such as this one, it needs to have a good relationship with the Auditor General for ensuring that there is proper oversight. I'm not going to go into all of them, Chair. The members will go through them, but I was just giving a highlight in terms of the issues that we are. Then, in terms of the key challenges that are emerging from the oversight work of the committee, firstly, would always be the overarching legislation. Also, on top, I might not have mentioned it, Chairperson, the issue of the National State Enterprises Bill was tabled in Parliament in January, in fact. However, because of the time frame, the committee did not process it. However, the next Parliament, it's something that we reflect for the next Parliament to resuscitate the bill and ensure that it is passed. And then also, we're saying that there's a need to improve audit outcomes, balance sheets, also access to shareholder compacts, also look at the poor operational performance of power stations in particular, and the ports and rails of Transnet. And then we also look at the bottom, if members could just allow me to skip certain things. We're looking at ESCOM and Alexco and Safcol. There is a lingering issue of more than 10 years of unresolved land claims, and which put the two companies into limbo in terms of movement and growth. Particularly the people who are supposed to be benefiting from those. The other one is actually a court, I think, which is Alexco. And then we look at the recommendations, just a few of them. The committee did not have a strategic plan. We never went for a strategic plan for this particular term. So we said that it's important that for the committee, the next committee that oversees state enterprise, to go for a strategic planning session, also to ensure that it requests these shareholder compacts for a proper oversight, also to ensure that we have proper site visits to state-owned enterprise on a regular basis, so that we are able to do our oversight not from a distance. Members would understand the challenges we had last year, that many of our oversight visits were not approved. Also to implement the AG and the outcomes for state-owned enterprises, which is audit outcomes and recommendations. Also, we're looking at the institutionalization of the PRC. I think that one, Chair, there's a PRC report. Then there's also the presidential one that was established by the new administration. So it's important that the new parliament must look at those presidential review recommendations for SOEs. And then, if you allow me, I think it's important also to monitor and implement the budgetary review recommendations report that the committee have made on year. But it's also good to mention that the department was reporting regularly on implementation. And then that was an executive summary. So in the report, we're going to detail in terms of what informed the A will just give what informs the mandate of the committee, which will be your policy framework of government, which will be your MTSF, NGP, which is the National Growth Path, Industrial Policy Action Plan, and the like. And then we also make a list of all the entities that are reporting to the committee, and then what is the role of that particular entity. Then we're looking at the key. We've tried to put this one of key achievements during the sixth administration that were implemented during this particular time. I'm just going to highlight a few. There was developments that we had was that there was a Presidential State-Owned Enterprises Council that was established, which I think it's important to note so that the new parliament must know that they must look at what is it that that particular council has recommended. And then there's a South African National State Enterprises Bill, which was tabled, like I said, in January. So it's important that the committee would find out where is that bill and whether the seventh parliament can take it forward. Then you would have your restructuring office and the Center for Excellence on Governance that was established. That was meant to basically to look at the corporatization of Eskom and Transnet. In particular, the issues of generation and I think in Transnet they corporatized the National Port Authority. And then if you look at in Transnet here, there is what they call the roadmap for Eskom in a reform electricity supply industry. So that one is the one that informed the corporatization of the establishment of these new companies and the holding companies. I think the Committee on Energy is dealing with that issue of the electricity amendment bill that the committee has attempted twice to meet with the Mineral Resources Committee department. However, those two meetings have failed because we haven't received that particular input. And then, Chair, we've got the National Port Authority, which was corporatized. I'm not going to speak about that. I think I've mentioned it. And then also we understand that in terms of Transnet reforms, there was an issue of the established introduction of third-party access to rail network. It's important for the next parliament to look at that and see how does that affect Transnet, its operations and profitability and all of these other things. And then we also speak of the work of the Chief Restructuring Officer, whose term has finished at the DENEL. However, DENEL also has introduced a new business operating model to improve efficiency and competitiveness. I have sent that email with the presentation yesterday, Chair, to show that the DENEL has got a new structure in place with the establishment of the new CEO. And then there's also the National Logistics Crisis Committee. I think the next committee must also look at that because we have never actually interacted with that particular committee and we haven't seen any of the recommendations from there. I'm not going to speak about Takatso. I've dealt with that. I'm not going to speak there. Then there's also a handbook of governance. I think that one is meant to improve the integrity management framework and also issues of governance in state-owned enterprises. If you allow me to move a little bit faster. And we also look at Eskom successfully completed the process of decommissioning Komati power plant station. However, if your committee remember very well, I think in the last 2 weeks when we engaged Eskom, there's four power stations that are going to be decommissioned. So I think it's important that we're going to highlight that in terms of the next committee checking in terms of how is that going to affect Eskom and the socio-economic impact of such decommissioning in line. And then also we're saying that it's important to look at the energy action plan and also the energy availability factor recovery. There's a plan that has been developed. So I think the Minister of Electricity has been updating society regularly on that particular issue. Then we're looking at the just a issue about SAFCOL, that it has steadily increased its revenue. In fact, it was the only entity that has performed well in the last 2 financial years. The functions of the committee, basically, I've mentioned them here, was to look at the both financial and non-financial performance of government departments and entities, also to process and pass legislations, which was not in our mandate, and also facilitate public participation in relation to our committee. Okay, and then we also do say that our committee has got a distinct mandate. Because we're overseeing a shareholder management department. We are not overseeing a service delivery department like social development, health, education. Ours, we are more dealing with a department that is also doing shareholder management, and we're also overseeing a shareholder management. So hence, we are more concerned about issues of governance, financial sustainability, and that. Hence, we're saying that the department that is responsible for the policy environment would be energy for Eskom, transport for SAA, Transnet and Southern Express Airways, and Defense Department will be responsible for the policy environment and legislation for DENEL, and so forth and so forth, Chair. So we are not a policy committee. We are only concerned about the performance and financial sustainability, but most of the things that we will raise, they will fall within the ambit of policy departments. And then we're also looking at the method of work of the committee. Since we said that the committee, I did mention it, that the committee didn't have a strategic plan session. And then the committee did identify instruments in which to do its oversight, which was we were getting briefings regularly, and also scrutinizing annual reports, interacting regularly with the Auditor General, and also robust oversight visits. But also we use the budgetary reviews and the budget votes to ensure that we make recommendations on the budget and ensure that the minister and the department implement. And then in terms of the purpose of the report, which I've already engaged with in the beginning, I'm not going to go into that. And then we look at the key statistics that I'm not going to go too much into. It just basically tells us how many meetings we have had per year. Legislation, we have had none. Oversight trips, we have had very little over the time. We have had like 2 to 3 oversight visits per year. In the last financial year, it was worse. They didn't approve any. Study tours, none. International agreements, none. Statutory appointments, none. Interventions, none. And then petitions, we have actually received 2, Chair. One in 2021 and one in 2023 that we are still busy with. And then we also list our stakeholders. Our stakeholders were all the state-owned enterprises, the AG, National Treasury, all the policy departments, regulatory bodies, academic research institutions, private companies contracted to SOCs, and the communities. I think communities will also include your organized labor. And then the briefings, I didn't go into detail there. Legislation, none said. This is just a procedure. Then I list the oversight visits, which we still need to brief in terms of all the oversight visits is work in progress check. And then we go to in terms of emerging challenges, we do obviously highlight the key ones, which is the issue of the ports and the railways, Daniel, and especially the issues of KwaZulu-Natal. Then we also look at the targets for the market demand strategy for Transnet. Then we look at Daniel challenges, because I think that's one of the main companies that is in more dire state, which is Daniel, which I think that is it's an entity that, in terms of oversight, it must be emphasized. Then the issue of load shedding, it remains a constant problem. And then it's important that you must evaluate the impact of IPPs on the financial sustainability of Eskom. Also, now we look at the outstanding matters that need to be followed up and with whom. So we have looked at, these are the issues that I've highlighted in top there, Chair. Basically, it will be your corporatization of the TNPA, which is the National Port Authority of Transnet. So we think that it's important that the next committee must look at that. Then we're looking at the operationalization of the NTCSA, which is the electricity reform that is happening at ESCOM. Then we're looking at the legal separation of generation in ESCOM, which is meant to improve competitive and efficiency in ESCOM in transport market. So we're saying that the next committee must look at that and assess if it's reaching its desired outcome. Then we're looking at the government shareholder management bill. That one is related to the National State Enterprises Bill that was tabled in January. Then we said oversight over the shareholder model for SOCs, particularly with minority shareholder. That relates to SAA because South Africa government might be having less shareholder, might not be a majority shareholder. So there's a need for a legislation or something to govern that particular. And then how does the portfolio committee in the next parliament oversee a minority shareholding in a state-owned enterprise? Then we're looking at the strategic equity partnership of FAA, which we have dealt with. Then also the land claims affecting Safcol and Alexco, which has been coming for the last 3 parliaments. And then on statutes, none. International agreements, none. Statutory appointments, none. Petitions, we've got 2 that I've done. We had one from the petition that was from the residents of Jamestown in Stellenbosch, which was the 12th of March in 2020, which report was done and was reported to the House and adopted by the House. And the one of the former DG, the committee will be concluding in the next week. Then we've got the obligations that have been conferred to us. I think these ones are more, these are obligations that are coming from either from the speaker or from other state organs. But this would be, I think, what we should be putting here. It would be the issue of that Rodney will be presenting on, which is your Zondo Commission, because it is a matter that is given to us by other state organs. And then we're looking at the summary of outstanding issues, Chair, which is in line with what I've said on top. So I'm not going to go into each and every one for every state-owned enterprise, because it will still go about extensive after we are done with the final report. I think I'm reaching the end of this report, Chairperson, because here it's just issues of follow-up and recommendations. Some of them are repetitive because the report has got a summary version on top and has got a more detailed part at the bottom. But it will still be more extensive than this for the next parliament. I'm not going to go into these recommendations, Chair. Basically, it's what I've said on top there. There isn't any new ones, Chair. If the members will allow me, I'll stop there because it's a work in progress. And then these are all the members of the committee who were present during the next parliament, because I have also included the members who are here. We had 2 members who have deceased during the process, which was Ms. Dlamini and Ms. Mpumlwana, and then we had 1 member who was moved to executive. Yeah. And then these are all the members who were present for the financial year, for this term. Thank you very much, Chair. I hope I didn't, I was clear. Thank you.
Oh, yes, sorry, comrades. Sorry, honorable members. Now that you're done, can we just get indication whether we will present both report or we finish this one? Members deal with. I suggest that members must must speak on this one first, and then we go to the second one, as we normally do. Can I just, as normally, ask Honorable Dlamini to have a bite.
Good morning, colleagues and everyone. Chair, I don't have much to say except maybe to emphasize the importance of benchmarking, something that we were not able to do as this portfolio committee. I'll make an example, Chair. You see, if you look at a number of jurisdictions who've had to make decisions on their ports, whether they remain wholly owned by the state or they allow the private sector to participate at some level, there's been pros and cons. And we have not had the benefit of such benchmarking in our work. Maybe the next administration would do better to undertake such benchmarking so that when they make these decisions, they are informed. You see, a simple example, Transnet took a decision to do away with a scheme, they called it CTOC, and efficiency levels have since dropped. And you would have wanted to maybe benefit from a study conducted that where else has such a decision been taken and it yielded positive results. Remember, oversight and study tours cannot be separated. It's part of the same thing. Study tours allow you to enhance your oversight activities based on the information collected after benchmarking from countries with similar programs and backgrounds. That I think should be something that we're able to lift and maybe allow for the next administration to consider and process thoroughly. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Gondwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and I would like to greet everybody on the virtual platform. I'm very happy with the legacy report, but there is one thing that I think the committee in the 7th administration should also do, and that is to monitor the implementation of the VGBE consortium report, which was commissioned by Treasury. I stand to be corrected, but I believe the report was handed over to Treasury in September and then was recently released, to members of the public. And so, and because Eskom has committed itself to implementing the recommendations of this important report, which was essentially an independent assessment of the operational situation at Eskom's power stations, I think the committee in the 7th administration could then request a briefing from Eskom in relation to how far it is in relation to the implementation of this very important report. Thank you, Chairperson. That's all from my end on this, on the legacy report.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Gondwe. Honorable Mawotwe, because I'm seeing you on the platform.
Thank you very
Honorable
much. Yes, thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to the colleagues. Chair, I want us to organize a thought so that it flows, the way it is, it covers a lot of things, but it's not structured. So if you were to have a table of contents as an example, and then your first item is introduction, which in this case is right at the bottom where it says the Department of Public Enterprises is the shareholder, blah, blah, blah. So that should be the first paragraph, followed by the background, which is now taking you back up to where it says the mandate of the committee so that we give our people the background of who we are and what do we seek to achieve. And then you follow it by the purpose of the report, which is already in the report, it's outlined in the report. And then you have committee focus. And under your committee focus, that's when you are going to have functions of the committee, the method of work the committee adopted, briefings and public hearings we've had, legislation, oversight, study tours, petitions, Zondo Commission and all that. So that should fall under the committee focus, which is the things that we focused on during this term. And then you can have the next item then becomes outstanding matters. So this is what we've covered as the committee. This is outstanding. And then you come to the other point, which is now the challenges we've experienced as the committee in our journey within this 5 years administration. And then the last one is recommendations. So all these things, they are somewhere scattered around the report, but it doesn't flow. So let's just get the flow right. But we start by introducing ourselves, give the background of who we are, what is the purpose of this report, what has been the committee focus, what are the outstanding matters that we want the next administration to take over, what are the challenges that we've experienced, which is the lessons that the next administration can learn from, and then what are the recommendations, which is going to be the key areas for future work and also the way forward. That is just on the restructuring of the report. And also, Chair, I want us to reflect on the work of the committee in relation to unbundling of Eskom. What have we done when we learned that there's going to be an unbundling of Eskom, and what has been the results that that have yielded after the unbundling of Eskom, and how far we are? I mean, the minister came from the beginning saying we need to unbundle Eskom, and so what has been the difference between the original Eskom and the unbundled Eskom? And the issues of load shedding. Chair, we came into this committee, we had the issue of load shedding. 5 years later, we still have the issues of load shedding. So what has been the work of the committee in relation to load shedding? What have we done, or what have we been told? What have we learned about load shedding, and what can we tell the next administration of our lessons that we've learned on this load shedding? And if we've got any suggestions and recommendations, they should then come under the 7th item, which is recommendations. The third point is the dismissal of the DG of Public Enterprise. It's unusual, or it's new, at least in this portfolio committee, that we had the DG dismissed. So what has been the impact of the dismissal of the DG from the department? We need to reflect, Chair, on the sale of SAA for 51 Rand. I don't think as the committee we've had the liberty to really understand what happened. I mean, to this day, I saw your letter, Chair, 2 weeks ago, of trying to get answers on what exactly happened. We still don't have, and we still can't hold anybody accountable. So we need to reflect on this report to say, 5 years later, we are as clueless as ordinary South Africans, or this is what we know about the sale of SAA. Shall we also need to reflect on the shutting down of SA Express? I mean, to this day, those workers still crying, not just for the entity having been shut down, but also that there has been contributions that were deducted from their salaries, but to this day, they have not been paid over. Funeral covers have not been paid over to service providers. Medical aids has been deducted from their salaries, but never paid. So we know all those issues, and let's reflect on them. Disan covered me on the balance sheet of Dinel. I think he covered me very well. And Chair, my last one, which might not necessarily be what we've experienced, but maybe in the recommendations, is to say, perhaps Parliament must be given the power to be the one to decide, and Parliament, I mean the House, to decide on whether an entity gets privatized or not, as opposed to just the minister having the powers to use his own discretion to privatize an entity. Let it be a power that is vested into Parliament and not necessarily the executive, because we will wake up tomorrow, you are the minister when I chair, and you privatize Transnet, and we ask questions as members of parliament, we are not being given answers. But if it was to be parliament that finally makes the decision to say, let the powers of privatizing come from the parliament itself, which is a state arm, it's far much better than just an individual making that decision or taking that discussion on its own. That will be it for now, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Mawotwe. Honorable Suweya.
Morning, Chair, and morning to my colleagues. No comment. I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Honorable Buthelezi on the, I don't see him. Kwankwai is also absent. Okay. Honorable Isaac.
Good morning, Chairperson. Morning, colleagues, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Tisang, for spearheading and for your concerted efforts in putting together this legacy report. Albeit, yes, a very detailed and long one, but as was alluded to, sometimes, maybe it would need to be laid out somewhat more strategic, I think. But nevertheless, I had a look at it last night myself, Chairperson. I just wanted to point out that, yes, we received at the last minute the letter from Denel alluding, etc., to its turnaround strategy. All well and good. The problem is that, Denel has been problematic in terms of the losses, in terms of its investments, in terms of its order book, and it has been definitely a huge problem for the fiscus as a whole in terms of the investment. And if one looks at the return on investment, I think one needs to highlight this in the legacy report for especially issues like, if I might just go over to Alex Cole, let's be realistic, Chairperson. As a committee, and for the limited time that I have been on the committee, I think I can say with conviction that really nothing much has been done about Alex Cole and the impoverished community. They talk about talks, but the community has, for the last 5 years, to be realistic, not really benefit anything out of the debacles that continue at Alex Cole, in spite of the land claims being successfully awarded, etc. So again, in terms of the legacy, the incoming parliament would really need to zone in. And finally, Chairperson, for me, it's a question of the investment that has been put in over the years. And if one looks at the return on investment and the dividends that have been paid back to the state via all these state-owned enterprises, where one has to be honest and realistic, it has been a dead loss to the state. And again, it should be highlighted that the next parliament should, in terms of all these turnaround strategies that are going on between ESCOM, between Denel, Alex Cole, SAFCOL, SAA, what at the end of the day is the bottom line in terms of the return on investment for the state. But overall, Chairperson, I think Disang has put in a concerted effort to put together what has transpired over the last 5 years. And of course, the oversight issues are quite strongly highlighted in that the very little bit of oversight that has taken place, yes, it has not given the committee the element of exposure that one would have expected. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Isaac. Now it's Honorable Piri. Oh, no Piri here. Okay. Honorable Kumede. Honorable Commander. Commander is not here. Okay. Honorable Mhlongo, sorry. Honorable Mhlongo.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to all the colleagues. Chair, firstly, under outstanding inputs, I think what is also outstanding is the issue of the Electricity Regulation Amendment Bill that we are supposed to follow up with Department of Mineral Resources, Mineral and Energy, of which I think twice now, the meeting that was scheduled with them had to be cancelled due to their unavailability. So it's one of the outstanding matters I think must be put there. And lastly, Chair, it will be the issue of doing away with the department. Even though we're not responsible for policy making, I think it should be a recommendation that we make just to support the stance of government of wanting to do away with the Department of Public Enterprise, for all these entities to go to the line departments, Transnet and SAA to go to transport, and ESCOM to go to Mineral Resources and Energy Department, and SAFCOL obviously to go to DIF. So let's make that recommendation to be clear, Chair, that we are supporting this move that ought to see the Department of Public Enterprise no longer being a department, but these entities going to their line departments. And that issue of the ERA bill, Chair, please, I don't see it highlighted. I might have missed it, but I don't see it anywhere because there's the ERA amendment bill that we have not discussed as a committee, yet the shareholder of ESCOM is the Minister of Public Enterprise, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Mhlongo. Honorable Malinga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to yourself, members of the Portfolio Committee, committee staff, and everyone on the call. Welcome, TG Mawodwe. We have missed you and your fun part. Chairperson, let me also agree with what the colleagues have alluded to and say maybe what Honorable Mawodwe is advising. Maybe we could get clarity from Disang, because I saw the legacy reports, Mawodwe, they take this shape, most of them in Parliament, or whether there is, because I'm told there is a style of Parliament, of writing in Parliament. So maybe he followed what they are told to do, but nonetheless, I think it suffices. Yeah, I'm not sure because I logged in a little bit late, whether the issue of the audit outcomes have been captured here, because my issue was also the issue of we are concluding the term with the issue of Rechtsplein, the people there, the CPAs, whether it's also covered here. And Chairperson, I think we should, the legacy report reflect on the work that we did, the challenges that we did, whether also the issues of insufficient oversight that the Portfolio Committee took over the 5-year period term that we were here. And what could be the advice moving forward? I know that public enterprise will be no more from what we hear, but just to advise even the whatever where these entities will do on how to have effective oversight. If I could be covered, if I could be clarified on those one, the issue of audits, whether the reflection on the SAA audits that were never before the Portfolio Committee for the past 4 years, because since we came to Parliament, we only received I don't know whether you call what we received last week an audit. We received that document where we could not even delve deeper on the issues of SAA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable.
Report. I welcome the report, Chair. I think it covers our work. Apologies for that.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Malinga. Honorable Mkwanazi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Sanbonan. Chair, I must first say I support Honorable Malinga in welcoming the report, but also acknowledge the dedication, the work done by the Secretary. It covers all our groundwork that we did. We note, Honorable Chairperson, I note the issue of SAA. I think, comrade, honorable members, we must agree that the issue is not yet completed. As part of the legacy reports, I think we must indicate that because we are still doing an oversight on the matter. I think very soon we will be able to complete the matter back to the Speaker. But all in all, Honorable Chairperson, I think the report covers our work and is able to highlight all the work that we have done, and it is a true reflection of what we've done as the committee. For that, Chair, I support the report. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's the contribution the members made. Do you want to say something, Mr. Mushumi?
Yes, Chair, just to thank the members for their inputs and also for their advice and counsel. Just to say on the input from also Honorable Mawotwe, there is a room for improvement on the structure of the report to see so that it can be easily readable and to follow. So we will look into that also. Yeah. Thank you very much, members. We will bring back the report back to you again for a final approval, adoption, in fact. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muchumi. Honorable members, we go to the second report. Mr. Munisi, are you ready to take us through?
Chair, sorry, I apologize. I had my hand up. I just wanted to say on a lighter note that I think, in all fairness, we should also thank Ms. Lee Bramwell for her concerted efforts over the period, because she was always available to the committee to guide and also to assist. So I think we should highlight Ms. Lee Bramwell's contribution over the years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Morning, Chair. Morning, members, and everyone on the platform. Mine is to deal with the progress on the implementation plan on the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into State Capture recommendations by the committee.
Chair, apologies, can Mr. Mnisi deal with the screen? I don't know what's happening here. Or maybe it's only my screen where we see his files.
He's still busy trying to do that. He's trying to open for you. Continue, Mr. Mnisi.
Is it open now?
Not yet.
Chair?
That's it.
It says
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Chair, Parliament developed an implementation plan in response to the findings of the Judicial Commission, and its purpose was to give effect to the recommendations in the report of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption, and fraud in the public sector, including organs of state. The implementation plan was referred to the Committee for Actioning. The presentation therefore aims to share progress towards attaining and or achieving its objectives with regards to the plan. The implementation plan actually centers around 4 areas which committee reflect on: recommendations on parliamentary oversight and accountability, inquiry, which is an inquiry into question its extent and activities, parliamentary oversight of the executive response plan. As you know, the president developed a response plan to the recommendation, and it outlines what will be done by executive arm of state to the recommendations of the commission, and the monitoring parliament's implementation plan, which house persons are responsible for committee for both houses of parliament to monitor progress, attainment of tasks, and monitor progress on matters referred to committees. And then the 4th one, it's parliamentary reforms to strengthen exercising parliament's constitutional mandate. It relates to reforms parliament will undertake to strengthen the exercise of its constitutional mandate, and it's envisaged that it will undertake certain initiatives aimed at strengthening the exercise of Parliament's core mandate. The department's response, this is when the Department of Public Enterprise response is where, in furtherance of the Commission's recommendations, the department has been working with law enforcement agencies, state-owned companies, and other state organs to, among other things, pursue delinquency proceedings against former directors of state-owned companies implicated in state capture, ensure that civil and criminal proceedings are referred to relevant authorities for investigation, with the view to prosecute where necessary individuals who fail to exercise their fiduciary duties. Responsibilities are disciplined by their professional body. Individuals implicated in state capture reflect and or prevented from accessing employment from the 3 spheres of government, and reforms are introduced to enhance measures meant to ensure the maintenance of good governance in SOEs. And with the first one relating to director delinquency, DPE is working with law enforcement agencies to pursue 94 cases of delinquency proceedings against 73 directors. The breakdown is as follows: Transnet 13 cases, EXCOM 13 cases, Transnet 25 cases, SAA 25 cases, Denel 9 cases, Alexco 22 cases. As the DPE led the launch of delinquency proceedings against 4 former directors on the 30th of April 2023. The cases are currently under investigation by CIPC. And referral to professional bodies, the DPE referred 6 cases relating to former board members and SAEs, accounting and law firms implicated in state capture to their respective professional bodies. The breakdown is as follows: SAA 4 cases, Denel 1, Transnet 1 case. The department is reviewing profiles of CVs of the implicated former directors to ensure that those who belong to professional bodies are identified. This is to ensure that former directors are referred to the relevant professional body for discipline, and that evidence from such referrals is used to support delinquency proceedings. Board appointment process. Cabinet in 2022 mandated the DPSA in consultation with key department to establish a task team to review the DPSA guide and provide a plan of action. The review will consider mechanism for centralized database and independent oversight bodies recommended by the State Capture Commission. Vetting and integrity assessments. The DP is working with DPSA, Presidency, National Treasury, and COCTA to develop a database that will be used to maintain the list of officials who were dismissed or who resigned to avoid being disciplined on cases related to state capture, fraud, and corruption. The database will be used to ensure that the individuals do not surface elsewhere across the three spheres of government. 25 former senior executives of ESCOM identified and ready for inclusion in the database. Work continues with all SOEs to identify individuals to be listed in the database. Also, on State Capture Commission investigation, we focused on Transnet, ESCOM, investigations at SAA, Alexco, and DENEL. On Transnet investigation, it's the acquisition of 1064 low-cost motives for contracts with original equipment manufacturer valued at 54 billion, relocation of 2 OEMs from Kurusport to Durban facility at a cost of 1.4 billion, and the maintenance of locomotives by CSR, the appointment and contracts awarded by Transnet with 3 transactional advisors, McKinsey, Trillion, and Regiments, and the interest rate swap transaction concluded with Nedbank. Contracts awarded to Neotel Pty Ltd for the supply of CCTV cameras at the port to the value of 882 million. The master service agreement and other contracts. A software solution awarded to Systems Application Products South Africa Pty Ltd, also known as SAP, and in ICT contract awarded to T-Systems Pty Ltd and the involvement of ZStore and tandem crane procured from ZPMC. Cranes procured from Libre as well. On ESCOM investigation, Tegeta Brackfontein, Tegeta Optimum, Tegeta Fontaine, ABB International, Impulse International, and SAP. On SAA working capital, McKinsey Regiment Capital, a turnaround strategy was procured without following regulatory processes. LSG Sky Chef, Airbus acquisition and Pembroke transaction, Swissport ground power units, aircraft components, support tender, and paint tender. On Alesco, the investigations are on the 2015 contract and 2016 contract and the quantification and valuation. The NEL investigations, IT security assessment services, steel fabrication of goods and steel fabrication of services, the house contract, 30 subcontractors, the chart contract, the awarding of contract for the provision of legal services, the pilot bursaries, student 1, 2, and 3. So the status of these investigations some are administrative action where and civil litigation, civil referrals, civil recoveries, criminal referrals, disciplinary referrals. Some are also taken for NPA referrals, and I think 1 or 2 ongoing investigations. Thank you, Chair. That's the the presentation from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Mnisi. Honorable members, that is the report presented by the content advisor. Can we engage the report? I will again start with the members as I did before. We'll start with the Honorable Dlamini, followed by Honorable Dr. Kondwe and the Honorable Mawotwe accordingly.
Thanks, Chair, again. Maybe one must welcome the report. I'll just want to comment on Transnet, specifically on the 1064, insofar as the CNR contract is concerned. The report doesn't seem to give much progress report insofar as that is concerned, because I think beyond politicians and directors, there were a lot of people involved in that transaction, and we need to find some form of justice. Remember, the state lost a couple of billions in that transaction, and that's not an issue that must be taken lightly. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Dlamini. Dr. Kondwe.
Thank you very much, Chair. I do have a couple of questions mixed with comments on the presentation. I'm also concerned that in general, the presentation outlines all the investigations under the different SOEs, but provides no further details in relation to the progress of the investigations. And my understanding was that we would get an update on the progress in relation to the investigations. Maybe I'm wrong. So I want that particular point addressed. And then I do agree with the DPE referrals to professional bodies. I agree that this will definitely constitute as evidence for any delinquency proceedings that are brought against the implicated individuals. Now, in relation to the review of the DPSA guide in relation to the board appointment process, I wanted to find out whether the content advisor is able to give us an indication of the progress made in this regard. How far is the DPSA in relation to the review of the guide in relation to the board appointment process? Because I note from the presentation that Cabinet mandated the DPSA to review this guide in consultation with other departments over a year ago. So I want to know whether there's been any movement. And then I totally agree with the development of a database by DPSA working together with the Presidency, National Treasury, and COPTA for the database for purposes of maintaining a list of officials that are dismissed in one department before they can face a disciplinary hearing, and then they go and seek an employment in another department. I think this database is absolutely critical and long overdue. And I wanted to get an indication of, again, how far is the DPSA in relation to the development of this very long overdue and critical database. And then through you, Chair, I wondered whether we could also, as a committee, engage the DPSA into the possibility of extending the framework that it developed, in relation to lifestyle audits for officials working in the various government departments to SOEs, particularly to those officials working in the procurement and finance department of SOEs. I think those officials should also be subjected to lifestyle audits, in the same manner that, officials working in other government departments And then I tend to think that sometimes, we're seeing the problems that we're seeing with SOEs because of almost this, I don't know whether to call it a disjuncture, and the fact that, you have the DPSA regulating the conduct, or at least developing norms and standards in relation to the conduct of officials in government departments. But then who then regulates the conduct of officials that are working in SOEs? And so I think it's something that we should really try and ensure that officials and SOEs are always subject to the same standards and norms as officials in other regular departments. That's it from my end, Chairperson. I just want clarity particularly on the fact that the presentation is good at outlining that there are all these investigations, but there's no progress, or at least an update on the progress in relation to these investigations. Is that something that then the committee in the 7th administration should look into? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Kondwe. Honorable Maotwe.
Thank you, Chair. Let me also echo the same sentiments that we don't seem to get the progress made on the investigations of corruption on these entities. But let me also add or ask why, or if there's any investigations. You remember that, Chair and the members, there was an alleged overpayment of 4 billion rands, which, according to the minister, was paid over to Stefanotti Stocks, ABB, Tubular Construction Project, and Tenova Mining. I don't see them appearing in here except ABB International, but also this ABB International doesn't tell us exactly which investigation has been carried through, for which project specifically. So I want to understand what happened to the 4 billion rands overpayment. But also, Chair, the Stefanotti Stocks was also, it was alleged that there was a dispute of work done. I think it was at Kusile power station of 110 million rands. So is it not being investigated? If so, why? If it has been, what has been the outcome of it? And then the last one is Chair, Aveng. Aveng is one of those companies that were even mentioned at the Zondo Commission to have been overpaid by 400 million. So what is happening to that investigation? Has it been concluded, and what is the outcome of that investigation? That will be all from me on my side for now, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Maotwe. Honorable Suweya. Honorable Suweya. Honorable Suweya is not here. Okay. We go to Honorable Kumede. Honorable Kumede. Honorable Isaac.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, wow, Chair. There's so much, being said here, and I think lots has been summed up pretty brilliantly by my colleague, Honorable Gondwe, in that she summed up the database issues. I was just, for example, Chairperson, and to highlight, if one looks at slide 10, particularly, that is on the vetting and integrity assessments, and we talk on the second paragraph of some 25 former senior executives of ESCOM identified and ready for inclusion in the database. Now, my colleague, Honorable Gondwe, spoke in detail about the database and in terms of it being expanded before individuals go and find employment elsewhere. So this matter is rather of an urgent issue, and I'm not sure how fast the wheels turn, but these matters need to be highlighted rather on an urgent basis, because I personally was looking forward, like one of the other colleagues mentioned earlier, to a more detailed report in terms of, individuals or matters in terms of progress and how far are these issues of these individuals that are involved, because sometime or the other this needs to be exposed. So I don't want to just deliberate on the same old thing that has been said by other colleagues, but across the board, Chairperson, across the board, from SAA, Alex Gore, Denel, Transnet, Eskom. I mean, we can see the tragedy that has unfolded. Forgive me, I know you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but it is a fact, Chairperson. This cadre deployment policy has highlighted yet again how it has killed our economy. And seriously, something needs to be done, something more concrete. So I would expect and look forward to a more detailed report in terms of all these investigations that are taking place. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Isaac. Honorable Malinga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me also welcome the report, Chair, and also say I concur with what Honorable Isaac is saying, except for always blaming it's not cadre, it's cadre. They also do it, but that's a debate for another day. Chair, I also would have loved to see how much has been recouped from the state capture processes. Maybe I did not read the report correctly, and how many prosecutions have been there. Because saying that we have followed this one and this and without any prosecutions and sentencing, I think we are still way far lagging behind. We are lagging behind in terms of implementing the report as the Judicial Commission has sent to Parliament. Thank you very much, Chair.
Sorry, thank you, Honorable Malinga. I'm seeing Honorable Piri in the list. Can you come in?
Good morning to your good self, Chair. Good morning to colleagues and the presenters. I want to appreciate and acknowledge, take cognizance of the report, as it has been said by my colleagues. But Chair, allow me to say I really want to concur with colleagues. I don't have any further questions or clarity seeking. I'm fine. I'm covered by colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Piri. Honorable Mkwanazi.
Thanks, Chairperson. We note the report. I want to support Honorable Piri that a part of the groundwork have been covered by the honorable members, especially on the issue of the prosecution. I think if the report can emphasize on that, as indicated by Honorable Malinga. Apart from that, Chair, I am covered. Thank you very much.
Okay. That is it. Back to you, Mr. Mnisi.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Honorable. I'm so sorry. Come in, please.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. Chair, I think firstly I must agree with Honorable Maudwe, and maybe perhaps add one point of Chair, this report, perhaps we should get feedback on the cases that have been referred perhaps to SIU for investigation that emanated from the Zondo Commission, as well as any other case that was sent to law enforcement agencies like SAPS, and how, if there's any people who were prosecuted or if there's still ongoing cases that have been open and they have not yet been resolved. It will be very important if we get feedback on that, especially as well as the issue of SIU monies that have been recouped and what are the consequences on those people that have been implicated, Chair. I think if we can expand the report in that manner, we should be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mhlongo. Sorry for omitting you. Phela when kukhona main member, then we normally forget about the person who is also assisting in the committee. Honorable members, can we go back to Mr. Mnisi?
Thank you, Chair. I think most of the inputs were comments and on how to improve the report, and we will do so from our side in terms of how we improve it. But the procurement, I think Mr. Lamini talks about procurement of 1064 locomotives and relocation. The allegation the allegation received were irregularities of those procurements by Transnet from 4 EMs, Bombardier, General Electric, CSR, and CNR. So he's right. And the findings is that investigation has been concluded and supported for referrals with the SIU, and the SIU is also dealing with them in terms of civil recoveries and courts and all that. And is right when he says it's not, there are a lot of people that were involved. So in terms of the report, we'll try to make it detailed next time, but we're looking at the sake of time in terms of the detail that has to go into this thing. And we're looking at how far we can go, but we realize that there are a lot of allegations, findings, outcomes in the report that would have loved to share, but we have taken us more than 70 slides or so. And on the issue of update on the progress of board membership and board appointment process and lifestyle audit, it's something that DPSE is busy with at the moment. And in terms of lifestyle audits, companies within their own structure, such as your audit structure, internal audit structures, they do have ways in which they take lifestyle audits, but also the department has a framework in dealing with that as well. So yeah, Chair, on ABB International, we were looking specifically at the allegations made at ESCOM that relates to ABB, and it's actually allegations of a regular contract awarded to Tegeta, and it was found that the contract was unlawful and invalid, and it did not comply with 217 of the Constitution, and findings were made against executive members, their family and private individuals and entities. So claims were reached out of court settlements of about 1.577 billion to ESCO, The application is still ongoing. There are disciplinary referrals and criminal referrals. ABB already paid 1.577 billion. So I'm not too sure about Aveng, but I haven't come. I will look at it and try to put it as part of the report as well. Yeah, I think most of the questions were comments on how to enhance and strengthen the report, and we're gonna do that, Chairperson, and make sure that everything that members have raised can be reflected in the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mnisi. Honorable members, that is the last item. I just want to, before we close this session, the investigating process meeting, the meeting that is supposed to be completing the investigation on allegations against the minister by Mr. Hlakudi, is supposed to be finalized this coming week. In fact, we earmarked for tomorrow or Friday, but the chair of chairs provided us a space because this meeting has to be physical, as we have already started it to remain a physical session. Therefore, we will be in a position to have that meeting next week, but not on Wednesday, because we don't want to interfere with our program and schedule. We'll try to get a day either after the session of this nature on Wednesday or perhaps Thursday, between those 2 days. We'll check, but we were not intending to interfere with with the portfolio committee meeting. That is the situation. Therefore, we will be getting, before the end of this week, a specific invite that will be providing you the specific information about that particular meeting. And I hope members are preparing for themselves for that particular session, because I think that will be our last meeting in relation to that issue, where we'll be wrapping up and starting to develop a report to the Speaker. On those bases, I would love to declare this meeting closed. Thank you.
Chairperson, just remember next week, Wednesday at 2:00, we are scheduled to be in the House for the oral question session, Cluster 5, Economics. So just keep that in mind in the planning, sir. Thank you.